friends on the dais, friends before us. Normally a signing ceremony doesn't have any introduction or a big event around it. But we decided purposely this time to make a bit of an announcement because it takes away about 18 years, 17 years of frustration. Doordarshan has been uplinked, if I may use the term, with satellites for quite some time. Our problem was to find downlinkers all over the world. Now, it's a long history. Let's move on to the present. Over the last 10 months, we have been in negotiations with the Germans, the German public service broadcaster, our counterpart Deutsche Welle, with whom we have a long relationship. And I'm happy to announce that DG Doordarshan, Mrs. Chabra and Mrs. Dorothy Ulrich would be signing an agreement that facilitates uplinking and downlinking. It's almost automatic downlinking onto what is known as the Hotbird's Bouquet. There are details we have given you of the number of homes. It's one of the free-to-air services. Therefore, all over the world, people like free-to-air services. And we would get an entry into 120 million households spread all over Europe and going all the way up to the Middle East and Central Asia. This calls for different strategies for different areas. So we would start with the sun, with Central Asia, that has a common group of Turkic languages, move along with it to the Middle East, where we have a sizable representation and there is a lot of interest, and then settle on Europe for the remaining part. We will work out all these details in the days to come.
Has Doordarshan begun preparations to start new programs, particularly aimed at Europe?
I'll put it like this. No firm steps could be taken before this became a reality. So we know it's becoming a reality for quite some time. It's taken quite some time. Where India's image abroad is concerned, Doordarshan would only be the catalyst, would only be the carrier. I'm very sure about that. India's image abroad concerns the entire spectrum, starting from the Ministry of External Affairs, overseas Indians, culture, tourism, and even economic ministries. So we would be constituting, as soon as possible, a consultative group, perhaps under the Foreign Secretary, that would get into the programming, including the details of the sensitivities and the demands of the countries. After all, they have reps all over, we don't. So they'd be telling us what the tastes, what the ruchi, what the demands are, and what the sensitivities are. Based on which, and of course, there's Deutsche Welle, our permanent partner, to help us. We have them in India as well, incidentally. They are on our free dish satellite. We'd work this out. Before you mentioned about in DD India being in existence, Mr. Nagpal, as you know, you're an old admirer and critic of a good critic of our organization. Sending a program up is one thing. Getting it down to the homes is another. But the third challenge is making people see it consistently and as a matter of routine. So we have crossed the first challenge, which we didn't earlier. We are coming to the second, and the third lies ahead. That is where all the people that you see around here would be working together.
So can I have, my name is Venkatraman. I just wanted to know whether the Doordarshan is going to share all the programs, or only Hindi or any particular language is going to be shared with this Deutsche Welle?
No, Deutsche Welle will have its own slot over free dish, which, as you know, still the largest DTH footprint in India, number of subscribers. But we are going to get into their slot on Euro Hotbird, which means we beam over Europe and the Middle East. As I mentioned very sparsely, we start with the first footprint which comes to Central Asia, as you can see. That's when Europe is sleeping. So we start at that time, move on to the Middle East, when Europe is still not yet up, except in doing the gymnastics or aerobics, and then come to Europe when they're up. So we have the first 3-4 hours of play. After that, depending on the tastes and when people of what country, what wish to see what, we'll try to accommodate through one channel. Most foreign broadcasters, or most foreign broadcasting arms of public broadcasters like BBC, CCTV, NHK Japan, every one of them, Deutsche Welle, has more than one spread. We are starting. It's a representation of the aspirations of India. It's some sort of a mediating voice. It's some sort of a agreed space that we are moving towards.
Which language are you going to give a priority preference? Whether it's going to be a Hindi or regional language, it's going to be the.
If you ask me, without consulting others, I would say Hindi and English, Hindi to some extent where they understand with subtitling. Many countries of the world have their own languages for small bits and pieces where people will understand maybe in the Gulf, and then move on to Europe with English as a lingua franca. That is my submission, but I would never dare to force my opinion on a group that would know better. We have a tie-up with ABC, Australian Broadcasting. They're going to come on air within the next few weeks. They don't have a satellite of their own, nor do they have any parked space nor do they have any right to space the way the Germans had worked out. ABC is coming on our satellite. We have the French beaming on our satellite. They don't have reciprocity either. We tried with the Canadians. They're too small. Their areas of interest don't converge. We worked a lot. America has what you call the PBS, but that is also on a standalone basis. BBC and we had old working relations. Somewhere down the line we lost the plot. We have to get back somewhere. But for the moment, what is of immediate interest to us is not the signatures that we make. We have a relationship with Mauritius, we have a relation with many of our neighbors, is on how to use this opportunity that this deal gives us to get into as many of the homes as are available, and to present something that they would think is a centrality of the idea of India. That's it. And we'll need a lot of talks and arguments as we move along. Without it, we don't feel invigorated.
At the moment, in how many countries does DD India reach, and tentatively how many viewers watch it abroad?
We have our satellite INSAT 14B on 36 countries. Number of viewers is negligible, very negligible. I mean, it's not.
Given the budgetary constraints, I believe DD would have only 2-3 crores. How do you think will you be able to come up with a programming that many people could actually watch it or be interested in watching it?
Okay. Most countries of this size who would like to make their presence felt have between Indian rupees 4,000 crores to 8,000 crores. We have a detailed analysis, but that is for a much larger establishment. For instance, Deutsche Welle has offices here, we don't. So they have other expenses. They have multiple channels to operate. We are talking of a single channel that immediately reduces our thing, but certainly 3 crores won't do. You're right on that score, 3 crores won't do. Because we have taken government a bit by surprise, if I may put it by the thing. We expect the interministerial or interministerial group to come up with recommendations. It's India's channel, not Doordarshan's channel or INB's channel. It is India's channel. And no, I have enough programming. If you want from tomorrow, I can switch on. But who am I? I have, everybody does what is called loop and server. There are people in the electronic media. We have enough program. We have current news, we have current discussions, current concerns of India. We have current programs. As you know, we started Wide Angle, which is a security and defense concern program. We have it on 2 days a week. We can always make it 5 days a week tomorrow itself. So we have News Night. We have other programs which are also in English. These will be the currency that will roll on because people are eager to know the last reliable news from India. That is there. Current events, current happenings, even Nepal could have been covered. The visit could have been covered. So it's news and current affairs, come entertainment like everyone else. So
two short questions. Firstly, you were contemplating between 15 September and 2nd October. So I was wondering if you have decided on a date, 15 September being the birth of television in India. And my other question was that both DW and DD are public broadcasters, but then Free Dish also has a lot of channels which are not public broadcasters who are telecasting on that platform. Will their signal go also as it is, or will there be an alteration or anything on their signals?
No, Free Dish has separate slots for separate channels which we auction. We have auction channels, we have reserved for public broadcaster channels, and we have reserved for Doordarshan channels. We are going up to 97 channels by October, and that's more or less an assurance. And by March, we should be making 120 channels, so it will make it a very attractive bouquet. Any number beyond that is just a number. People never get to surf them. So we are sticking at 120, which carries all our partners with us in our ride up. And as for the date, as I said, Mr. Nagpal, it can't be unilateral. Let it converge. But you have no question for the German lady who's walked in. What is all this? She's getting away. No, I'm sure. Dorothy must answer. She's done Al Jazeera. She's got world experience on running international media.
My question is for the
Deutsche
Welle.
Mr. Sircar, I just want to know, don't you think it's over-ambitious to have one channel which will address viewers across West Asia, Europe, and the several other countries that you mentioned? They have very different sensibilities, very different interests.
It is ambitious, number one. I cannot restrict the footprint of Hotbird to suit my convenience. I have what I have got. We work out the inter-se priorities as we move along. There was one school that let's concentrate on Europe. There's another school that said let's concentrate on NRI. So we have these binaries that always work in our foreign policy and our external dealings. Let the needs be felt. You are talking today about shoes because we have feet. Prior to this, there was no discussion on shoes.